So it was only
Yeah. Oh no, it's or shall we gallop through those again for the purposes of the no, that's fine. Are we absolutely are we absolutely clear? But are we clear we are recording now?
It is definitely recording now, yeah.
Okay, right, well, let's start again, but that's fine, don't worry, we'll take this as quickly as we can. Right, welcome everyone to this meeting, or good afternoon, welcome to this meeting of the Select Accountability Board. I will first of all go to introductions, welcome all the board members and officers who are present. Starting with the introductions, I will start and go around and to my right and round the table. I'm Roger Goff, leader of Kent County Council, member of the board, and in the absence of Simon Cook, and indeed anyone else better qualified to do so, I'm Jeremy Smith.
I'm Helen Dyer and program manager at Select.
I'm Zoe Gordon, my role is business engagement and communications at Southeast, and I'm here in place of Adam Darlington.
I'm Mark Cultural and leader of Barrington. Rodney Chambers, member of the Keep those who subsequent council. Stephen George, leader of Southend City Council.
Leslie Wagner, Deputy Member of Essex County Council for Economic Renewal, Infrastructure and Planning, and substituting him for Councillor Kevin Legman, the leader of Essex County Council.
Dr. Newman, head of finance, Essex County Council, representing the section 151 officer and the chemical department.
Thank you. Clearly, we have a number of officer colleagues in attendance as well within the meeting, and some online. I'll suggest anyone introduces themselves when they when they come forward to speak. So microphones will be placed on the table and will be switched on throughout the meeting. Board members wish to speak, they should raise their hand. When voting, equally, board members should raise their hand. Members of the public can join the meeting. And officers, as we mentioned, are listening in both in person and online. A recording of the meeting will be available via the Select website after the meeting is concluded. For those attending the meeting virtually, please don't use the chat function on Zoom, as this will not be monitored during the meeting. And equally also for those attending virtually, if there are any technical issues, please remain on the call and we'll resolve that issue as quickly as we can. There is a confidential appendix attached to item 11, which is the A28 Surrey Loop Road LGF project update. The intention is for this item to be discussed on the basis of the public paper here, unless anyone specifically wishes to discuss the contents of the appendix, in which case we will have to act differently. But I think the intention is to proceed on the basis of the public paper. So, Helen, I do have apologies for you.
Yes, so as you mentioned, Councillor, we've had apologies from Councillor Bentley, who's substituted by Councillor Wagner, and who's on the and also to note that Rosemary now has plenty of information with the.
Thank you, and John Board wish to record its thanks to Rosemary for her contribution as a member of the board. I don't think we have no other apologies, so moving on, minutes of the last meeting. Can we confirm as a correct record the minutes of the meeting which was held on the 27th of January? Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Would does anyone wish to say, Steve?
Just in relation to the project in Southend, my brother-in-law sits on the board of Sanctuary Housing, which is now taken over previous apartments.
Very good, thank you. Any others? No. Okay. Right, then we move to public questions. One public question has been received. I understand the person who submitted the question is not attending in person, so it's to Zoe to read out both the question and the response. So Zoe, over to you.
So yes, we received one question from received from Hastings Lines Community Group. And from a simple question, when will Peter Gateway Road be fully open? The clarification directly connected to the M21, as this is affecting the amount of time to stay with the routes to each train stations. So the response that we have is two parts. First part from East Sussex County Council, and they say work is ongoing to complete the Queensway Gateway Road project. Company's financial and contractual discussions are being undertaken between East Sussex County Council and Seaton Sussex. Until these matters are concluded, we're not in a position to state a definite timelines for project and completion of the project. East Sussex County Council recommends solutions to supporting the project and the business community, and remains committed to resolving the matters as soon as possible. And the response from SELAC, SELAC and the board continue to close the monitor delivery of the project, and will take appropriate action in accordance with the service level agreement in place in SELAC, East Sussex County Council, and Essex County Council as the country body, should the project no longer be deliverable in accordance with the business case.
Very good, thank you. And I think that will then, that both the question and the answer will be posted on the select website. Yeah. Thank you very much. Then I think we can move on. If there's anything else on that item, I don't think there is. Then we move on to item 5, which is the select operations update. And Zoe, I think that's for you as well.
So yeah, there's just a few points that I wanted to highlight, I suppose, and to note for the meeting. Because obviously we've all read through. But I think there's probably just a couple of things that a bit of clarification might help with some of the later items. So just wanted to highlight the first thing around the ESOS guide, that we're awaiting an update from Surgery New on that. That we've got the revised public questions policy, which we've shared. And in terms of deputy chair recruitment, that's in hand. Applications have been received, the next steps is a selection panel of directors and admin to announce to ask the directors to come forward for that. In terms of changes to the the new deputy chair will officially be appointed in the July strategic board or electronic procedure, if that's needed. And then the changes to insurance framework, the key points to note around that are around the chair and deputy chair. There'll be no remuneration of those roles in future, and also there's been some changes to references to funding for the single chair, no longer around or choose the past tense. And then we've also got the updates on the insurance framework and data monitoring. I suppose the biggest changes or the biggest thing to note in the report is around the changes to the risk register, and probably a lot of those changes come as a result of the announcement by the government about future funding for LEPs. So for those of you that don't know, the announcement came following the budget and stated that governments are minded to not fund LEPs beyond April next year, and for LEP functions to be brought into local authorities, which is not an entirely unexpected announcement for us, but obviously it does have a lot of implications for our work. So in terms of the research, so there's quite a lot of changes around increased risk around staff retention, board member retention and engagement from board members in particular. We have prepared a few lines to take, which we are using internally in the secretariat team, and also having shared with board members, just to try and be helpful, really be consistent in our messaging. So from a select perspective, in some ways it's not as big of a problem for us as in sort of the LEPs, or the LEPs are quite far away from working as closely with local authorities, but there is still a lot of work to be done to understand operational implications of this. So I can put some of these into the operations report here. So it's section 8 probably the most important point, bit to note here, particularly around. Well, the core funding for this year is still to be resolved, so we've indicated that there is a process to go through, but we've made it clear that we do actually have a budget for this year, and that sort of stands alone. And then from next year, obviously there's a lot of things for us to consider around the work that the LEP does at the moment, whether that be some of the good work we're having our working groups around project stream or the creative group and funding that we have for big boats and so on. And particularly around the political programme and decision making. The immediate next steps are that there is a questionnaire which government can share with us and with themselves as partners and many others. So responding to that. And then also there's a number of working groups set up through government and network on key themes, legal or funding or all sorts of detail. So adding information those and some of us from the team as well to understand the detail a bit better. And we also started conversations with all partners in the area. So there's sort of working group which I've done back in the business in this last week, where they started to try and sort of set out, okay, what are the different areas that we need to look at here. So yeah, it's just highlighted that into this strategy really, and I suppose that's where it will be looked at for the purposes of this meeting. So the risks around capital programs with them remain very high, they were to work and so they just remain as high. And yeah, essentially we have a meeting planned with the board to take place later this month, which was originally sort of a strategy planning session. And this was just a strategic board. So with that, the focus of that now and changed to future work for that. And that's the main next step that we wanted to know.
Very good. So thank you very much. Clearly, there's quite a lot in there with the various frameworks, the risk register, assurance framework, and so on. Any questions or comments from board members about this? Keith?
Just to comment on the final part, I mean, I think it is absolutely right that we had those conversations and decide where we're going, but equally we need some more guidance from the central government in as much as where the risks going to sit, how do they see the breaking up of finance, not just the finance responsibility, which sits with Essex, but all of the finances going forward. So I think that we've got a strong enough partnership here to continue with those conversations and come out with something that works for us. And by that, I mean the staff and the partners that we've built up over many years. It's just just to be a futile gesture not to encourage and engage with all of those, because I clearly think there's an awful lot of expertise that we should we always all have benefits from, but we still need to maintain that.
I agree with that entirely. And I think, we, as this whole process has gone on, and it's been quite a protracted one, I think we've, as a board, a number of times expressed both our dismay, frankly, at how national government has treated the LEP as a body, and particularly the people who work for it, and a desire, very strong desire on all our parts as the authorities who are key members of it to ensure that there is a transition, that it's smooth, that it works both for the people who have worked so well with the LEP over the years, and also for whatever those future arrangements are. And as you said, we've also got to park a lot of the risks, challenges, projects, and so on. So there's an awful lot to be doing.
Yes.
And it is due to be coming back. I mean, clearly there are a whole range of offline conversations that are taking place, quite rightly. But we're actually, as you mentioned, bringing it back both to this board and to the strategic board as well.
Yes, so the board session and for the next report and then the and sort of way forward with this.
Sure. Good. Are there any other comments or questions on this? No. In that case, then I'll go straight to the recommendations. So the board is asked to note. Now, I think we can take this on block, can't we? Or do we have to? This is just noting as well.
No,
On block, yeah, I think just note on block. We will have to have specific recommendations, particularly when we get on to those involved in financial decisions, clear show of hands and all the rest of it. So right, so the board is asked to note the proposed updates to the assurance framework, issues Appendix A at section 5. Note the update on assurance framework compliance monitoring and governance KPIs at appendices B and C. Note the changes to the risk register at Appendix D, and note the updated public questions policy at Appendix E. Is that agreed and noted? Good. Thank you very much. Then, and Zoe, thank you. So we then move on to the finance update. Lorna, I think you're going to lead on this, so over to you.
So, Laura Norris, I'm senior finance partner at Thames Council, and I support so that in the council body role for the Essex News Council body role. So hopefully you've had a chance to see the finance update in the board papers. It covers the latest forecast position with respect to the 22-23 revenue budget position and the latest reserves. It also sets out an update for the revenue budget for 23-24. Just covering briefly the 22-23 position, this reflects our latest assessment. We're currently working through the final adjustments for year end, so we'll bring the final position to the next board meeting. Overall, the position sets out a slightly improved position from that reported back in November, which is primarily due to lower than anticipated staffing costs with vacancies taking longer to fill as expected, and also maximising the use of grant funding where possible to offset current costs. There is a potential for this position to be included some of the capital fund that we've held for our getting building fund and growing places funding higher throughout the year than anticipated. And also being included the interest rate, which shows that the interest probably from the advances could be important. There's two recommendations in the report with respect to surplus grant funding that's requested to be transferred to our operational reserves to support costs in 23-24. Relates to the funding that was returned from the fixed support fund project allocation. As this fund is now closed, this request is in line with other decisions made in this respect. The second is in respect of a small balance held on the energy strategy grant of £927. This funding is allocated to support delivery of the energy strategy a few years back, and this usual balance remains unspent. We've now received confirmation from the respective government department that we can use this funding more generally to support the net zero activities being undertaken by SELEC. So it's been requested to move it out of the grant into our operational reserves to support that change. The impact of the improved overall forecast of 22-23 means that there is a corresponding improvement in the funds expected to be available in the operational reserve to support future operations. The balance at the moment is forecast to be 1.3 million to support those costs. When we agreed the budget, or when the board agreed the budget in November, it was on the assumption that there would be no additional support from government into 23-24. There is now an expectation, as Zoe mentioned, that there will be a core contribution, albeit at a reduced amount of £250,000, but we've not yet received confirmation as to how that will be allocated, or whether or not there'll be any conditions associated, such as the requirement for matches we've had in previous years. So, but if this funding can be secured, it will increase the options available to SELEC with respect to delivery through 23-24 and support for any transition arrangements that may be implemented in reference to zone in their item. The government have now confirmed that 23-24 will be the final year of grant funding being made available to SELEC. This means that any ongoing services will place reliance on the remaining reserves to ensure that any obligations to SELEC and the accountable body can be met. In this position, we continue to be monitored and used to inform any decisions made with respect to any proposed future commitments or transition arrangements for SELEC by this board. Have you any questions?
Okay. And apologies, I've got lost in terms of the recommendations. So my apologies, I just jumped on one item in terms of those. So let me just give the read out the recommendations. So here we go. It is the board is asked to approve the updated 2022 to 2023 SELEC revenue forecast budget set out in table 1, including the specific funds, say summarised in table 3. Approve the appropriation of £33,993 of sector support fund to the operational reserve to support the ongoing operations of SELEC. And to approve, again, sorry, actually, do I need to have a show of hands on each of these? Sorry. We probably do, apologies, I'll jump back to that. So, the board is asked first to approve the updated 2022 to 23 SELEC revenue forecast budget set out in table 1, including the specific funds summarised in table 3. Thank you. To approve the appropriation of £33,993 of sector support fund to the operational reserve to support the ongoing operations of SELEC. And to approve the appropriation of £927 of the energy strategy grant to the operational reserve to support the ongoing operations of SELEC, specifically. Did we £927? Okay, I know, it's double checking. Support, right, I'll read it again. Approve the appropriation of £927 of the energy strategy grant to the operational reserve to support the ongoing operations of SELEC, specifically towards net zero activities. And finally, to note the update on the 2023. So, no, thank you very much for that, Lorna. That's great. I think we're done on that item. So we move on to the Getting Building Fund program update. And Helen, you're going to lead on.
Yes, thank you. So this report provides the usual update on the GBF programme, including update on those projects which have received approval for retention of GBF funding beyond March 2022, an update on the GBF spend position and on the high risk projects. As the board are aware, there was a clear expectation from central government that the GBF funding should be spent in full by the 31st of March 2023. In light of the late cancellation of the Swanwick Housing Factory project, there was an acknowledgement from government that it would be very difficult for this expectation to be met. Efforts have continued to maximise the amount of GBF spend achieved by the 31st of March. We are currently forecasting GBF spend in 22-23 of 17.2 million, but at the end of Q3, up to the end of December, only 7.4 million of this funding has been reported and spent, leaving 9.8 million to be spent during Q4, which seems optimistic in the level of spend reported to date from 22-23. We will seek to provide an indicative year-end spend position at the next board meeting, and the board will be asked to consider any projects which fail to complete their GBF spend by the 30th of March, and which have requested an extension. Assuming the board agree the recommendations out in this report, spending 8.2 million, including the current allocated GBF funding, is forecast for 2023. But as the board will recall, the decision was taken to remove the Swanwick Housing Factory project from the GBF programme in January. The board agreed that Essex County Council is responsible up to local government would repay the initial 2.481 million awarded to the project in 4 weeks of that board meeting, with the remaining 2.049 million due for return by the 31st of March. As set out in the report, the majority of the GBF funding allocation had been issued to Swan Housing to support delivery of the project. Therefore, Essex County Council is seeking to secure return of the funding. The repayment process has been complicated by the recently completed merger between Swan Housing and Sanctuary Housing Association. This resulted in the delay in Swan Housing repaying Essex County Council. The issue has now been resolved. The Essex County Council are in receipt of the full repayment and are in the process of completing an internal transfer to the South. However, it wasn't possible for the funding to be returned within the time frame agreed by the board. As a result, the board asked to bring an extension to the deadline for the repayment of this meeting. As a result of the delay in receiving the repayment of the funding from Swan Housing, and from our perspective, Essex County Council, insufficient funding was held by SELEC in 2022-23 to support 5 Essex projects which needed additional GBF funding in January. In addition, due to delays in receipt of the funding, Essex County Council have not yet completed the required internal governance in relation to the funding event. In order to allow time for the government to be completed and the GBF funding to be spent appropriately, all 5 projects, which are the extension of 45 broadband rollout in Essex to meet rural and parchment premises, Greenville Square Chelmsford, David Market and Commercial Space, Tending Bikes and Cycle Infrastructure, and the Enterprise Centre for Horizon 120 Business Innovation Park are seeking approval from at this meeting for retention of their GBF funding allocation to the 30th of June. There are further 3 projects seeking approval with retention of their GBF funding at this meeting. Firstly, the Australia LFFN Phase 2 project. Project was awarded 500,000 GBF in November, and at the time of the funding decision, it was indicated that the funding would be released to private council, as was the case with the previous phase of the project. However, following the issuing of the section 114 notice by public council, the decision was taken by the board to change the recipient of funding to Southend-on-Sea City Council. This change in recipient delays the completion of the required variation agreement formalising the award funding for the project, and meant that Australia could not initially contractually commit to delivering the works. As a consequence, further time is now needed to complete delivery of the project. But I can confirm that the variation agreement is in place. Secondly, in the centre of South Essex, the no use entity South Essex scheme was launched in April 2022. It is now been confirmed that the full 1.2 million GBF funding award has been allocated to no use entity loans. As has been reported to the board previously, the required due diligence and legal paperwork for each no use entity loan is taking longer than expected to complete. Whilst it was expected that the majority of the GBF funding would be issued prior to the end of March, Southend-on-Sea City Council indicated it is unlikely that the required processes in relation to the final loan would be completed in time, and therefore sought approval to retain a small portion of funding to the end of June. Finally, the Better Queensway project. As set out in the report, this project has also been adversely impacted by the prolonged marriage discussions conducted by Swan Heritage. Positive steps are now being taken with the Sanctuary Housing Association currently reviewing the business plan for the project. It is expected that a full update on the project, including assurances regarding the delivery of the wider project, will be provided with the next board meeting. However, whilst evidence of full spending of GBF funding has been provided to the council, due to the ongoing uncertainty regarding the future of Swan Heritage, Southend-on-Sea City Council took the decision to retain the GBF funding until merger discussions are satisfactorily concluded. Whilst this process has now completed, Sanctuary Housing Association continue to complete the required due diligence in terms of understanding what they inherited from Swan Housing. And until this work is complete, Sanctuary will continue to accept the funding. It's expected a required due diligence will be concluded at Sanctuary's next board meeting, which is scheduled to take place in 2023, allowing the funding to then be released by Southend.
Very good, thank you. Any comments or questions on this? Okay. Sorry. Yes, let's. No, please do.
Thanks, I mean, gratitude to a combination of sanctuaries on the returning money and considerable work that's done by officers at all levels, and particularly the levels in order to put that in the agenda and get it done. And very, very sorry that there's a small gap. I think it warrants saying that the performance in getting it to that very small gap was impressive, and an awful lot of people were extremely helpful, and emotionally in Sanctuary as well. So I think it's useful to put that on record. Yeah.
Good. Thank you for that, Leslie. Anything else from the other colleagues? If not, we've got quite a number of the recommendations, and probably in the avoidance of doubt, let's have a show of hands on each of the list of the 8 projects which all have to agree about retention of the funding allocation. So can I see hands for each of those? I think just so that there's no ambiguity. So the board is asked to, first is just simply note the current forecast spend across the GBF programme for the 2022-23 financial year of £17.238 million as set out in table 1.
Is that an interim?
No, well, it says no in this case, so I assume we take that simply.
Should it be a no?
It was spent.
Brilliant.
Yes, I think it's just. most of it.
Yeah, we're noting the forecast rather than making it about what we're going to spend on. So
Sorry, noted.
that's all right, noted, good, right. But we can agree now, hopefully, the reported GBF spend on project delivery in Q1, Q2 and Q3 of 2022-23 was £7.373 million, as set out in table 1 and appendix A. Two. Agree that Essex County Council, as responsible upper tier local authority, can have an extension until the 12th of April 2023 to repay the outstanding balance of £3.071 million GBF following the removal of the Swan Modular Housing Factory project from the GBF programme. Noting that an extension request would have been brought forward prior to the 31st of March 2023, original repayment date, if the board meeting had gone ahead this year, the 10th of March 2023. You can note the update on the Better Queensway project. Noted. This we agree, this is where we've got the 8 projects. So agree that the GBF funding allocation can be retained against the following projects for a further maximum period of 3 months, i.e. to the 30th of June 2023. No use empty South Essex. Okay. Azela LFFN phase 3. Better Queensway. Extension of full fibre broadband rollout in Essex for each rural and hard to reach premises. The Tyndall Square, Chelmsford. Jaywick Market and Commercial Space. Tendering bikes and cycle infrastructure. And Enterprise Centre for Horizon 120 Business and Innovation Park. Thank you. And then we are finally asked to note the deliverability and risk assessment as set out in appendix C. Good. Thank you. Then we move on then to our next item, which is LGF, Local Growth Fund Capital Programme Update. And again, this is
Thank you. So this report provides the usual update on the LGF program, including updated risk assessment. As the board are aware, the LGF program officially ended on the 31st of March 21, but there are a number of ongoing projects. As set out in the report, forecast LGF spends the end of Q3 2023 is 22.1 million, including DFT and scheme. Actual spends reported during this period totals only 8.8 million. This represents further slippage on the LGF program, predominantly as a result of delays from a small number. Just as a point in relation to the finances, it should be noted that Barratt Council did not submit their LGF quarterly reporting as required in advance of the board meeting. Therefore, the figures presented in the report may not be accurate. Subject to receipt of reporting, subject to receipt of reporting from all up to local funds partners, we will seek to provide an indicative year-end spend position at the next board meeting. Whilst all ongoing projects continue to be closely monitored, and updates on those considered to be high risk are provided representative board. The unspent LGF funding considers to represent a reputational risk and it's a responsible up to local funds. So it should be noted that 2 new high-risk projects have been identified in the report. First is the Fairfield Centre project in Thurrock, which has received an LGF allocation of 5 million. The LGF allocation has been taken forward in accordance with the business plans. However, as set out in the report, significant challenges have subsequently been encountered, resulting in delay in the realisation of expected project benefits. A full range of alternative delivery options are currently being considered by Thurrock Capital. The board will continue to receive regular updates on the status of the project. The second new high-risk project is the Hastings and Bexhill Regional Access Package, which received an LGF allocation of £9 million. Mission to deliver one element of the planned package of cycling, walking and bus infrastructure, traffic management and public railway improvements has been reviewed. Therefore, East Sussex County Council are currently reviewing their options as to how to use the LGF funding allocated to this element of the project. The intention is to bring a full update on the project including a change request to the next meeting for consideration. At this meeting, the board are asking for the updated completion dates for 2 projects which have experienced delays of more than 6 months. The first project is University of Essex Park Road O3 project. Delivery of the project commenced on site in mid-2022, following a delay whilst waiting for Angry Water to complete a water main diversion. Efforts were made by the construction contractor to mitigate the delay caused by this work. However, the delivery program faced other challenges, including challenges around information of the retaining wall. In addition, it's understood that the original program was not taken into account for the of the new building. As a result of these issues, completion of the project has been delayed from December 22 to September 23. The second project is the Howsham Colgate Eastbourne Movement and Access Passage. As set in the report, work has been ongoing has developed a detailed design and identified improvements. However, progress has been hampered by delays in securing appropriately qualified survey companies, undertake requires detailed ground investigations and drainage surveys. Complications with the road space due to ongoing nearby construction of other schemes, and the need to consider the impact of potential development sites in the vicinity of the planned site. Due to these factors, completion of the project has been delayed from to March 25. And finally, I just want to touch upon appendix G, which lists projects for which there is outstanding due posting completion monitoring and evaluation report. Whilst it is appreciated that local partners have experienced reasonable issues in relation to each project, vision of posting completion monitoring and evaluation is essential so that we can all understand exactly what has been achieved as a result of the LGF program. It also provides the opportunity to learn from the experience of delivering the LGF programs and to use this information to alternative funding streams moving forward. If the monitoring and evaluation is not completed, this impact now will fully report the benefits through the LGF program, both this form and central government.
Thank you, Helen. Any comments or questions on the items covered here?
Just I guess on the last point, it's now managed to commission consultants to assist us on the post scheme completion reports, and those reports will be required and will be ready for
I understand from KCC project that we put in some additional resource and particularly graduate working on progressing the monitoring reports. We expect to have the remaining outstanding reports submitted for the next 6 months. Mark.
Yes, a couple of points. Yeah, I'm glad that the report here says PCRO is 6.12 onwards, and I think it's good that there's already been open and transparent about this issue. It's been ongoing for some years. Money was spent many years ago. It's one of the early £5 million for the timeline, and there's been some issues around LMQ, Shophouse, and there's now Sanctuary. There's a very part of the partners of that, and it's ongoing. We do need to see and look at what England and what PCO have done over there. They've delivered 2,500 homes. 35 minutes from London, central London, shouldn't be hard. Could be on a green brownfield site, should be exactly what government wants to be delivered. We need to really look at some intelligence. We need plans for 15 years. Why has that taken that long? And where were the government doing and crazy what we can do down there with the CRO and this development? This is changing the agreement with the CRO Park Council. And something you can't use that land, and they've had money from closing land Borough Council, we need to move forward now and to 2,500 homes, which are badly needed. As for the, and I'm with Helen, obviously, but rightly, and I think the OPLT with Julie is now open, which is probably finished. The final completion costs should have been here. And I'm hoping at the next meeting we can actually have an open look at that, and we see members from that way there. So the size of the project delivered by a small local authority, one of these projects in the lab, does need to be looked at, and it's managed from their performance. And that's why I think we told Keith earlier that this body should continue in some form. As we've got some work movements and then earlier, so it's really important. Otherwise we won't mistakes again. And that's really good.
Thank you. I certainly agree that we need to find the right way to learn. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? If not, then again, we've got a number of recommendations, not quite as many as on the previous item, but still. So the board is asked to agree the updated total planned LGF spend on project delivery in 2022-23, £13.5 million, excluding DFT retained schemes, and increasing to 13.824 million, including DFT retained schemes, as set out in table 2 and appendix A of the report. Agree the reported LGF spend on project deliveries in Q1, Q2 and Q3 of 2022-23 of £8.784 million, as set out in table 1 of appendix A. And agree the updated completion dates following projects which have experienced a delay of more than 6 months. I'll just ask for a show of hands on each of these individually. So, University of Essex Parkside, phase 3 project completion delayed from December 2022 to September 2023. And the Hailsham-Polegate Eastbourne Movement and Hailsham-Polegate Eastbourne Movement and Access package. The project completion delayed from March 2023 to March 2025. Brilliant. Thank you. And then we're simply asked to note the deliverability and risk assessment as set out in Appendix D. Thank you. And equally to note the list of outstanding post-scheme completion monitoring and evaluation reports as set out in Appendix G. Okay. Good, thank you. Right, we then move on to some specific schemes. I'm going to start with the Newley Park Station LGF project update. And I think Gary McDonald in the phone with Paul is going to open the batting on this. Hi, Gary, and then I think Howard joined us at the table. We'll take that forward. So, Gary, over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello all. For those that don't know me, I'm Gary McDonnell, HIF Programme Manager working within Highways and Transportation at Essex County Council. I'm sure you're all aware of Beaulieu Park Station project. I've been to this board on a number of occasions now to give updates. Really, there's a very high level update. We started on site in January, in the first working day of January, and progress on the station has been very good since that point. We're absolutely on programme at the moment, and work has progressed very well with the contractor J Murphy and Sons Limited undertaking the work on our behalf. I know, I'm sure a few of you were aware that we did have a bit of a sort of groundbreaking ceremony or event on site a few weeks ago that was well attended and well received. So, yeah, generally speaking, the project is going well, as I say, on programme. We have had the first set of track possessions, which is really the sort of major construction risk in terms of the project. So we've had 5 now track possessions over various weekends, and they've all gone to plan, and there's been no problems with handback and no delays caused to any of the train operators as a result of our works there. So that's all enormously positive. I think when I came last time, we were entering a 2-stage contract to develop the station. The reason behind the 2 contracts was to try and protect our risk exposure, given that we did have one of the freight companies actually had a kind of holding objection to the station through the Network Rail network change process. That objection has now gone away, thankfully. So we have all the necessary approvals in place to develop out the station. But we were hoping to have signed the second contract by this point. It's not quite worked out as planned. There's been a few issues with setting up that contract around the we've had some good internal meetings and some good positive meetings with Network Rail. I think they're now at the point of resolution. So we are now well advanced with our internal governance to get that all signed off by Councillor Bentley within Essex County Council, and we'll be entering into contract with Network Rail, who will have a back-to-back agreement with the contractor within the next few weeks. So that's all progressed extremely well. That apart, I think, as I say, it's looking very good in terms of the station at the moment. As I say, progress is good, and we've been very impressed with the performance of the contractor so far. So long may that continue. Within the report, you will obviously have seen the updates around the partner project within the HIF funding, which is Chelmsford North East Bypass. The two projects are intertwined. We have to deliver both to put in place the infrastructure for continued housing development within Chelmsford. So yeah, we're still progressing with the North East Bypass. It's not been quite a smooth running over the past few months with that project, I have to say, and we are facing a significant gap in finances. But we do, working with Chelmsford City Council, we have a plan which has been agreed in principle by Homes England to plug that gap. So that is all progressing now as well. So it's a difficult project to deliver, I have to say. There are a number of landowners involved, and obviously we need to take control of the land to actually develop out the project. But yeah, it is progressing now and moving in a positive direction. We have a major piece of enabling works on site, which is building a bridge that will support the quarry operations whilst the bypass itself is constructed and actually in use, and that bridge will then become a key piece of infrastructure for future housing that would go in and around that area. That is on site, and that is an £8.5 million contract, and that is progressing very well on programme and within budget. So broadly speaking, that's the update as I see it. Obviously happy to take any questions, or if you want me to go into further detail on any particular area, happy to do so.
Thank you, Gary. That was certainly very clear, very comprehensive. Thank you. Howard, did you have anything to add on this? Well,
I have got a question, but I'll just read it.
Yeah.
Put it in first. So thank you, Chair. So how there is that program officer to sell it? As we'll be aware from a seller, and thank you, Gary, from a seller perspective, and as you've been previously, one of the concern for us in relation to the project is the identified list of the allocation which Gary comes from. It's a HIF funding is lost, as the county council will need to see alternative funding to deliver the project. If alternative funding is not secured, the board will be asked to consider removing the project from the object programme and seeking return of the object funding as the project is no longer delivered as agreed. This would not only impact on the benefits to all parties of the achievement through the select proposed deal, but would also mean that key part of sustainable transport measures to the Chelmsford would not be forthcoming. So the third option, which I think Gary did touch on, is to bridge the funding gap for the bypass element of the project. And as Gary suggested, good progress has been made on in respect of this. But as I understand it, they will approve the components in the still needs to be secured, and therefore the risk does remain. My next point is actually a bit of a question back to Gary as well. So assuming the funding which is temporary resolved, the main risk for delivery is the need to secure rail concessions over the Christmas period of 2023 and 2024. The need to ensure sufficient buses and drivers are available to provide reliable rail replacement operations presents a risk for the delivery programme. And these risks will continue to be monitored. But I think the report, we were going to get an update on those track possessions, Gary.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, so the specific track possession around Christmas and New Year has not yet been confirmed. Howard, it's not absolutely 100% confirmed. What I will say is that it's looking extremely positive. But it's not, obviously it is a risk, of course, until it's absolutely 100% confirmed. It is, of course, a risk. But as I've said internally, the mood music is extremely positive around that. There doesn't appear to be any major objections. The main party that could and would object would be Greater Anglia, but they seem fairly content with the situation. That there are obviously, not obviously, but there are a number of other works that will happen on the Great Eastern Main Line in the same time period. So that's all coming together quite nicely for us at the moment. So that's looking extremely positive. But I will just reiterate that it's not been fully 100% confirmed as I sit here today. In terms of the bus, we are working with Greater Anglia and with our passenger transport team, giving them contacts to internal services and also the external providers that we work with, such as First Bus and others. Again, all the conversations are positive, that we'll be able to overcome that particular hurdle. But again, it's not absolutely confirmed as I sit here today, but again, it's been positive.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this? If not, then the recommendations are both just notes on this, which is the board is asked to note the update on the project, the risks of project delivery which have been identified, and to note a further update on the project we brought to the June 2023 board meeting, which will include confirmation of a complete funding package for both elements of the HIT project and government approval. Excuse me. Sorry, for the change in funding approach and an update on the required track possessions. Good, thank you. Gary, thank you very much for that.
No problem, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. I overcome my sneezes. We'll move on to the next item, which is item 10, Queensway Gateway Road LGF project. And I think we have again Richard Dawson from East Sussex County Council is online. I think, Richard, I'm going to come to you first and then to Helen. Richard, if you're there, welcome.
Thanks, Councillor Gough, and hello to the rest of the board members as well. Yes, I'm here representing the County Council to provide an update on the progress and the steps taken since the last presentation to the board on the 25th of November last year. I will not look to cover everything contained within the report, especially the context and background to the project to date, which you can see all in section 3. And the benefits realisation section 2, as I will take it that you've had a chance to read the report, and I'll just draw out some of the substantive points and then take any questions if necessary. So as a short background to the project, fundamentally the Queensway Gateway Road is a road infrastructure project which will see the A21 connection delivering transport improvements and unlocking allocated employment land. The road will connect with Queensway running south of its junction with the Ridge West, crossing the Hollington Stream Valley on the embankment and then running south of Whitworth Road to join the A21. Turning to some of the updates on progress that are listed within the report. As per the report since the last update to the board in November, where it was noted that a stage 2 road safety audit addendum being commissioned. Is that?
Hang on one second.
I'll just stop there, if that's okay.
Some form of hostile activity there.
Somebody keen to come in and cover it for me then?
No, I'm afraid you're still on the bench.
You let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, there was a second. Thank you, Zoe.
Sorry, Microsoft Teams wasn't open, so I don't know why.
Okay, I think thank you, Zoe. Right, I think we're good to go again, Richard.
Thanks, Zoe. As I said, I'm Thanks for addressing that. As I said, I'm turning towards the progress, and it was stated at the last meeting, it was noted a stage 2 road safety audit addendum had been commissioned by National Highways. A meeting has now been taken place between National Highways and Sea Change Sussex, where the agreed design changes to the cycle routes were discussed in line with the road safety audit recommendations. Since the report was submitted, as obviously we've moved on another month now, Sea Change Sussex designers have submitted an amended drawing package for review by the County Council and National Highways as well. However, the traffic and road signs package has yet to be submitted, which is required for the final technical assessment to progress. Another area of progress has been that Sea Change Sussex have been able to engage with the contractors and have previously procured the traffic lights to mitigate the risk of long lead-in times. Sea Change Sussex continue to engage with the main contractor to put in place arrangements ready to mobilise on site once all required approvals have been received. Also, as stated within the previous update report, the employment sites unlocked by the project are already accessible from the Queensway end of the Gateway Road, which is really great. And the County Council have instructed its property team as well to look at the options available to market the employment sites which sit around that ownership. With regards to the project budget and to the timeline and the costs for completing the project, funding discussions are continuing between Sea Change Sussex and East Sussex County Council. We shall obviously continue to document and monitor all ongoing risks associated with the project and keep the board and the public updated with the delivery progress as we have done within the report. So the next steps really will be an update on the project will be provided at the next board meeting, intending to provide that clarity on the progress made on the road safety audit addendum and clarity on the funding to be applied to the delivery of the project, alongside progress on the marketing options for the adjacent site. I'm happy to hand back to you, Chair, and take any questions if required.
Richard, thank you. I think Helen, you're going to add some comments.
So from the select perspective, there continue to be a number of concerns regarding the delivery of the project. Primary concern is the ongoing uncertainty regarding the funding package to the project. Funding contribution from Sea Change Sussex continues to be flagged as temporary contingency funding, and now alternative funding have been detailed in the report. Should this funding look before time? Furthermore, confirmation of the appointment of the contractor to deliver the remaining works cannot be progressed until all required technical approvals are in place. Significant cost increases have been potentially across the older and junior programs, and therefore there are concerns with ongoing affordability of the project. While the report seeks to provide an update on delivery of the project, it has not been possible for East Sussex County Council to provide a clear programme for completion of the signalised connectivity. This is in part due to the stage 2 road safety audit addendum process taking longer than expected, although as highlighted by Richard, revised drawings which address the findings of the road safety audit process have now been solicited in Sussex County Council on National Highway. And just to conclude that it is important that future updates on the project provide greater clarity as to the total project cost, how the works will be funded, and the delivery program.
That relates very much to part of the recommendation of the update coming roads to the sea. Any comments from anyone on this?
With what both the people have said
All very much endorse that, absolutely. Richard, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, not at all, Councillor Goff. Thank you for your time.
No, and thank you, and that was again very clear and comprehensive account. Thank you, Helen, as well. So the board is asked two things. One is to note the latest update on the note the latest update position on the delivery of the project. And to agree that the board will be provided with a further update on the project at its meeting in June 2023. That agreed? Good. Thank you, Richard. Thank you again. Great. We move on then to item 11, which is the A28 Surrey Link Road LGF project update. I know that we have Kerry Clark, certainly from KCC, and I don't know if Lee is with you as well.
Yes, Lee's here too.
So both welcome to both Kerry and Lee, Kerry Garth and Lee Birchall from Kent County Council. I know that after that we will then go back to Howard, we'll pick some of that up as well. So Kerry, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. So the report provides the latest position with the delivery of the Surrey Link Road project, which will deliver a new link road between the A291 and A28 to the southwest of Surrey and Canterbury. So current project progress, the procurement for the design and build contract has continued, and approval for the decisions of award has been given, and the letters are due to be issued to the interested parties early next week. It's then envisaged that the design and build contract will be in place by the end of April 2023. Some additional environmental surveys have had to be completed due to the presence of beavers, which have recently been identified as a protected species, and therefore a mitigation strategy will be developed. And other environmental surveys and archaeology are also ongoing. The associated Broad Oak development is progressing. Houses are being built out, and the first instalment of Section 106 has been paid to KCC. And the North Hurston development has submitted a planning application, which is due to be determined by Canterbury City Council in June 2023. But the report also outlines a risk that has emerged with the dependent Surrey development that will also construct a portion of the Surrey Link Road through the development. Unfortunately, this development has been delayed to their programme of around 12 months, caused by delays to the agreement between the landowner and the developer. And until this is resolved, which is hoped and anticipated to be resolved within June 2023, KCC have had to delay the publication of the compulsory purchase order for the land. That's because it would be difficult to confirm the need for the land to develop the project without certainty that that Surrey development is coming forwards. And it's now proposed to publish the CPO in September 2023. This is best practice to avoid the school holidays, just to avoid the risk for challenge for parties having insufficient time to respond to the consultation. This will still ensure that all the land is available prior to the planned scheme construction commencing in April 2025, and it also aligns the programmes for both the Surrey Link Road project and the Surrey development. It should be noted, though, that it's still envisaged that the majority of the land will be acquired through voluntary acquisition. So therefore, the report is seeking approval from the board for an extension to the land acquisition deadline from the 31st of August 2023 to the 7th of April 2025, and the agreed programme for the project completion from December 2025 to December 2026. And as mentioned, this will align the programme with that of the Surrey development, which is also delivering a section of the Surrey Link Road and therefore prevents creating a road to nowhere. Happy to hand back to the chair now and take any questions.
Thank you very much, Kerry. Howard, before we go any further, do you want to add anything on this? Yes, I want to say. Sorry, yes, you can give it seller perspective on this, I'll be most valuable.
Thank you, Chair. So thank you, Terry. Well, as the board may recall, the decision was taken in November 2021 to allow the release of the remaining LGF funding and immediate project to Kent County Council on condition that the required land acquisition is completed by the 31st of May 2023. As said in the report and explained by Terry, it is no longer possible for this deadline to be met. In addition, there are other risks project delivery that need to be addressed in the project. Kent County Council provided an updated timeline for acquisition for us, which shows that this process is now expected to be by 7th of April 2025. This timeline is only to take into account clear, reasonably foreseeable risks and assumes the CPO process is required to run its forward. In addition, Kent County Council has indicated that the result of the delay that report, and in order to remind the delivery of the project, is going to be like section of the link road being delivered by the developer. The project completion date has been revised to December 31st of December 2026, which previously was the 31st of December 2025. As Kent County Council are no longer able to complete the required land acquisition in accordance with the timeline previously agreed by the board, two options are set out in the consider. Option 1 allows for the deadline for the completion of the land acquisition to be extended to the 7th of April 2025, and for the project completion date to revise to 31st of 2026. If the board agrees this option, an update on progress to the completion of land acquisition process and an update on land negotiations for Surrey development will be provided at the next board meeting. The option will allow the LGF funding to be retained against the project, ensuring that the associated benefits are delivered sooner than if reliant on the receipt of centralised contributions for funding. If the board agreed option one, the change in deadline for completion of the required land activity be formalised for a variation agreement and ongoing delivery of the project will continue to be monitored. Under option two, the extension for the deadline for completion of the required land acquisition is not agreed. As a result, option two seeks the removal of the unspent LGF funding, which is currently held by the council on the project. If the board agreed option two, the remaining 4.519 million will need to be returned to the council to be accounted for the Senate within 4 weeks of the meeting. Whilst this option requires the removal of the unspent LGF, the board are asked to agree that there is compelling justification to not recover the LGF funding which has already been spent supporting the project delivery. This is on condition that the project progresses delivery and the spend of the funding continues to meet the requirements of the As outlined in the report, delivery of the project can be funded through sector contributions if the LGF funding is removed. However, this will adversely have impact on other elements of the residential developments and will require increased small funding from 10 council if delivery of the project is to progress in accordance with the report timeline. If the board agree option two, a further update will be provided at the next board meeting, which outlines how delivery of the project proceed without the LGF investment. A recommended option has not been identified in the report, but the implications of each option have been outlined for board consideration.
Thank you very much. Thank you both. Anyone with any questions or comments on this?
You want me to move option one, Chairman? I'm happy to do that.
I've given it be rather than abuse of my position as chair to do so. I think the arguments on this set out quite clearly, particularly in relation to the timing of the delivery, it being in accordance in step with the overall Surrey development and the businesses indeed, as Howard just mentioned, in relation to the need otherwise to forward fund the 106 monies. And of course, that has not been affected, what Howard also mentioned. And I think this was part of our discussion of it back in the end of 2021. Clearly not on effect is every other feature of that development and its impact because money is spent on one thing and not spent on something else. And there's a range of needs which will inevitably arise from the development. Right, can I, and I think that's probably the best, if I move, or if you move, I'll read it out, and we take it as you move it, option one. I think that's probably the sensible way to do it. So, moved by Councillor Daisier, the board is asked to agree to extend the deadline, and I'll take a vote on it. So, as moved by Councillor Gray, Councillor Gleesia, the board is asked to agree to extend the deadline for completion of the required land acquisition to 7th of April 2025, noting that it was agreed at the November 2021 board meeting that the remaining LGF funding would be transferred to Kent County Council on condition the land acquisition be completed by 31st of August 2023. Is that agreed? Thank you. Agree to extend the completion date of the project from 31st of December 2025, 31st of December 2026, which will align delivery of the project with the housing developments. Is that agreed? Thank you. And to note that a further update, and this is what just noting, so I can simply read it out on block. Note the further update of the project will be provided in the June 2023 board meeting, which will include an update on progress towards the completion of the land acquisition process and an update on land negotiations on the Surrey development. Is that noted? Thank you. Thank you. I think we've agreed that we don't have to consider option two. Kerry and indeed Lee, if you're there. Thank you very much. Good, right. We can then move on to item 12, which is the London Gateway, Stamford Loath and Grays South LGF project update. Now, I think on that one again, we have been joined by Kevin there. It's
Good afternoon.
From Thurrock, so Kevin, if you could lead us off on this, and again, we'll come back then to Howard for the select perspective. Kevin, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. The report before the board today covers LGF funded projects in Thurrock, namely Stamford Le Hope, replacement station and interchange, and the Grays underpass. The report sets out the progress on both projects, but set against the background of interventions that have been imposed upon the council due to the financial issues and the serving of a section 114 notice and how that's has impacted on the projects. The intervention details are set out in the report at sections 3.0. The detail of that. I suppose the key thing in terms of the intervention was the improvement and recovery plan that the council has actually has been put together in conjunction with the commissioners, and the key point within that is the review of the capital programme for the council, including the LGF funded projects. As part of the section 114 notice that was served just before Christmas, it does impose upon the council additional expenditure controls, which are set out in the report. In terms of actually project updates, with regard to Stamford Le Hope, a directors board took place in December 2022, which looked at a number of options to progress the design work. It was the directors board approval was for the design of the interchange was to be progressed along with the business case, and that reflected the sort of the serving of the section 114 notice and expenditure that was required. In terms of actually the section 114, that brought again, as I said, expenditure, the additional expenditure controls, which have delayed the progression of the appointment of the design teams. In terms of actually progress to date, set out at point 7. AECOM, the previous designers have been reappointed, and they are starting the design work. It's important that we got AECOM back on because they've got they've got all the information around the prior design. It was important that we brought that team back together because of the knowledge. In terms of actually where we are with that is that there's been a number of design workshops have taken place, and a number of options have been progressed. I would point out that considerable design work was previously done on this, and part of the review work has been going through that in detail and actually isolating a lot of the design work that could be reused. So we're fairly confident that we're moving to the two options, one with the interchange, the bus interchange on-site and off-site. We can progress those options. In terms of actually the business case, we're looking to progress the design work along with the business case. We've actually started the procurement of the business case consultants. There's a danger of bringing them on too early until we've got some of the design work completed. But we're confident that we've got that in hand. In terms of actually timelines, we're now working towards concluding those two design options and getting some initial costings. And then progressing to stage 2, which is the detailed design through to planning. It's anticipated that will take us through to September, October, where we would submit a planning application. Running in parallel is the business case work as well, and we're looking to conclude that in addition to any funding issues that need to be addressed subsequent to the submission of the planning application. In terms of Grays, set out at section 9. Again, The Grays scheme, underpass scheme, is subject to a review. The Grey scheme is actually subject to 3 reviews. We've got an inner circle appointed consultants in a circle to undertake a strategic review of the town and individual projects. Then we've got the GRIP 4. We've appointed Network Rail to undertake a GRIP 4, and that's a design and cost review. And the final one is a project readiness review, which has been done by an internal consultant team. All of those reviews are actually in draft at the moment, and we're looking to pull those together. It's proposed that those form the basis of a June report, which will be brought back to the accountable body, the accountability board, which will set out issues in terms of actually options for going forward. In relation to Stamford Le Hope, we will be in a position in June to have further detailed programme on the planning application and the detailed design and the business case, and that's the recommendations that we bring forward. Those update reports in June to cover both Stamford Le Hope business case and detailed design, and the Grays underpass options.
Good. Thank you very much, Kevin. And let's go, Howard. I'll ask you again to give us the select perspective on this. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Kevin, for your update. So yes, we have a select perspective on both Stamford Le Hope and Grays, starting with Stamford Le Hope. The board, as you know, just do regular updates on this project to highlight the difficulties that have been experienced around the increases. As a result of increases since the LGF funding allocation, there is a requirement for a revised business case which demonstrates that the project continues to offer high value for money. Confirmed that the full funding package is in place and reviews to forecast project benefits to ensure they will remain realistic. As the board will recall, a revised business case was submitted for consideration by the board in September 2022. However, the ICE concluded that the business case did not provide sufficient information for them to assess whether the project continues to offer high value for money. Therefore, the board agreed to allow Thurrock Council additional time to undertake further work on the business case, to further develop the project and to mitigate a number of the identified delivery risks. It was agreed that the revised business case should be brought forward for the board's consideration by the first board meeting of 2023-24, and that if this condition was not met, the LGF funding would be automatically removed from the project. At the November 2022 board meeting, Thurrock Council indicated that further time will be required to develop the business case, and that an extension request will be brought forward to the meeting on the 10th of March 2023. This meeting was subsequently postponed and rearranged for today, making this the first board meeting of 2023-24. As a result, Thurrock Council have not complied with the timeline agreed by the board. However, given that plans were in place for Thurrock to request an extension, and if this opportunity was lost, plans were in place for Thurrock to request an extension to the deadline for consideration prior to the end of March 2023, and if this opportunity was lost due to Senate decision to postpone the board meeting, the board are asked to agree that the LGF funding is not automatically removed from the project, and that Thurrock Council are allowed to bring forward a request for an extension to the deadline for business consideration at the June 2023. There continue to be a number of risks associated with the project, including the possibility of increased costs, uncertainty as to whether the full funding package will be replaced, and whether the benefits associated with the business case can be delivered. In addition, Thurrock Council are not currently able to provide an indicative delivery program for the project. A lot of these risks and uncertainties need to be addressed in the revised business case can be brought forward for consideration. That's what that as well. It is recommended that a further update in project delivery provided at the next board meeting, with a view to providing an update on the status of the Down Transport interchange and a timeline of submission of the revised business case. That's Stamford. And then on Grays, as Kevin had already explained, the Grays project is part of the review being undertaken in the wider Great South regeneration area scheme. This review will seek to establish whether the Great South project makes current payment is the correct project to be working at this time. It may be that a revised scheme is proposed which seeks to reduce the financial pressure on the borough council. As the board will recall, an updated value for money assessment was carried out in the project in May 2022, and this confirmed that the project still offers high value for money. However, the benefit cost ratio had fallen to 2:1, which is the limit of what is acceptable under the requirements of the assurance framework. If a revised scheme is proposed, there will be a requirement for either a project change request, including an updated value for money assessment, or a revised business case, depending on the scale of changes. We brought forward for board consideration. As a result of the deliverability and affordability concerns outlined in the report, and in light of the fact that the scope of the project is likely to be realistic, it is recommended that the spend of the remaining LGF funding, 5.36 million, is placed on hold. Spend of the LGF funding should remain on hold until it can be demonstrated that the project continues to meet the requirements of the insurance framework. It is also recommended that a further update on project delivery is provided at the June 2023 meeting. This update will set out the initial findings of the review of the Great South regeneration area scheme. Whilst it is acknowledged the Borough Council are currently facing unprecedented challenges, it is important that the delivery of these projects continues to be closely monitored and appropriate action taken if it is concluded that either project cannot be delivered in accordance with the requirements of this law. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you again, Kevin. Any comments or questions, Mark?
Yes, I don't see a current position already in the last few months, if we don't go into the big details. Yeah, but as obviously a place on precedent, and then in the meeting, I think we've seen it to it, either we get the full business case to you, and then by at least by June, and then that small delay of that, other things happening, which is discussed. But I'm hoping that the delivery program at the June meeting, and then the full business case for Stanford in the November meeting, which will be going forward. And if you look at the Grays Underpass, we don't want to make the same mistakes as that. I think it's quite sensible to hold their money there and put it on hold, have a full review of that, and whether the Borough Council is capable of delivering another project on top of the station within timelines, and making sure we're actually got a certainty that that's the right project, meets the best value, meets the capabilities of the council to deliver that, or and free reviews, that wider Grays review, the internal review, and then C2C's review as well. Over Brit 4, otherwise we can continue on and make the same mistakes as past. I think we can't continue that. But your support here today for Stanford, which is in the middle of this, would be very much appreciated, even though I did think that we should be coming back and should be allocated. I think events move slightly from September, and some support of my board members here to move this forward would be much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Mark. Any other comments on this? No? Okay, then let's read out, I will read out the recommendations. As I think there's coming in two parts, first related to Stanford the Hope. In relation to London Gateway Stanford the Hope, the board is asked to agree to not automatically enact the removal and reallocation of the LGF funding from the project, despite the requirements of the decision taken by the board in September 2022 not being met. Noting that in November 2022, Borough Council indicated that the extension to the deadline for consideration of the revised business case would be needed, with the decision due to come forward at the postponed March 2023 board meeting. Is that agreed? Agreed. Agreed that a request for extension to the deadline for consideration of the revised business case of the project will be presented June 2023 board. Agreed? Thank you. And to note the further update on delivery of the project will be brought to the June 2023 board meeting, which will include an update on progress with phase 2 design options. That noted. So we now move on to the recommendations in relation to Grays South. So board is asked to note the latest position on the delivery of the project. agree that the unspent £5.36 million LGF funding currently held by Borough Council be placed on hold due to affordability and affordability concerns, and should remain on hold until it can be demonstrated that the project continues to comply with the requirements of the assurance framework. Is that agreed? Agreed. And to note that the board will be provided with a further update on the project, which will include an update on progress in the current review process, including indication of the findings at its meeting in June 2024. That noted. Thank you. Good. And Kevin, thank you very much. Thank you, Howard, as well. Right, we move on to item 13, Growing Places Fund. Kevin.
So this report provides the usual update on the Jupiter programme, including an update on project delivery and the structure impact in the programme. However, the report primarily focuses on 2 requests for revised repayment schedules. Both projects set out in the report, Sovereign Harbour and Eastbourne Vision's quayside infrastructure development, have previously requested a number of changes to their repayment schedule. Therefore, both proposed revised repayment schedules were presented to the strategic board in February for their considerations. Also, there was some concern regarding the duration of the revised repayment schedule for the Eastbourne Vision project. Both repayment schedules changes were agreed by the strategic board, subject to agreement being obtained for this group. So the first project is the Sovereign Harbour project in Eastbourne. This project was awarded 4.6 million GPF and has today repaid 1.025 million. The current repayment schedule for the project requires the remaining 3.575 million to be repaid by the 31st of March 2023. It is intended that the final repayment will be made using income generated from the sale of Pacific House, which was the office space constructed using GPF funding. Agents have been instructed to market the building, where the Sea Change Sussex, the delivery partner, have advised that due to current market conditions affecting the UK property investment market, seeking to complete an open market sale of the building before the 31st of March, at a price which will be sufficient to safeguard repayment of the remaining GPF loan, which is unrealistic. In addition, the loan agreement in place between East Sussex County Council and Sea Change Sussex included a long-stop date to the 31st of March 2023. By which full repayment of the loan should be made. As the long stop date is not met, there is a requirement Sea Change Sussex, after receiving written notice from the council, transfer the building to Sussex County Council at half value minus the outstanding debt. Property valuation has been obtained and inform the Sussex County Council decision making. In light of these ongoing work streams, a revised repayment schedule has been brought forward to board consideration. It is now proposed that the final repayment on the GPF loan is made in 23-24. The deferment of this payment allows further time for the sale or transfer of the building to be completed. All are asked to note that technically Sea Change Sussex and East Sussex County Council have defaulted on the agreed repayment schedule, as full repayment was not received by the 31st of March 2023. Under the terms of the loan agreement in place between Essex County Council and Council Body and East Sussex County Council, this triggers the charging of interest on the overdue amount from the date of default to the date of repayment. However, plans were in place to seek full approval for a revised repayment schedule in advance of the 31st of March, as demonstrated by the project being considered by the strategic board in February. And therefore, the default only occurred as a result of the postponement of the March 2023 board meeting, and therefore it is recommended that interest is not charged as a result of the default. Board also asked to note that under the terms of the loan agreement between Essex County Council and the Sussex, that extending the repayment schedule also triggers the charging of interest on the remaining balance of the loan. It is, however, recommended in accordance with other decisions taken by the board, the interest is not charged on the loan at this time. The project under consideration is the Eastbourne Fishermen's Quayside Infrastructure Development Project. The project was awarded 1.15 million and has to date repaid 0.225 million. As has been reported previously, a repayment of 250,000 was due to be made prior to the end of 21-22. It was only possible for the delivery partner to make a repayment of 100,000, which represents the default in the agreed repayment schedule, triggering the requirement for interest to be charged on the loan. Under the agreed repayment schedule, all repayment of the loan should have been achieved by the 31st of March 2023. However, this was not possible. As has been set out in the report, the project has faced a number of challenges since completion and has been adversely impacted by new Brexit regulation. That's mostly in regard to fishery. Work currently undertaken to reorganise the business plan model for the project, and options appraisal has been carried out. A number of options have been investigated, and following the establishment of a new model, repayment schedule which spans 11 years from 24-25 has been brought forward for board consideration. It should be noted that this repayment schedule does not take into account the charging of interest. Whilst it is recommended that no interest is charged in the loan, should the board wish to fully endorse the loan agreement, this will result in the repayment schedule extending further into the future. It is acknowledged that repaying the GPF loan over an 11-year period is not ideal. However, options to reduce the length of the repayment schedule have been explored and proved to be unviable. In light of the duration of the repayment schedule and the ongoing works development income streams, it is recommended that East Sussex County Council are required to undertake regular reviews of the delivery partner's financial position to assess the ongoing viability of the repayment schedule and to identify any opportunities for accelerated repayment. It is recommended that 6 monthly updates are provided to myself and the accountable body, with annual updates provided to the board.
Thank you. Keith.
Check on that final point, just to tell the board that work has already started on the process with our finance team to ensure those reviews are undertaken and that the updates are presented to Senate as required by the agreement.
Yes, and I think going back to the Sovereign Harbour element, I think the point that Helen makes about the technical nature of a default as it's termed, particularly given the tool to do ultimately with the rescheduling of the meeting. I think it's entirely right that we should take proper account of that and treat it accordingly. Any other questions on the LGF item? Okay, then I will read out the recommendations. So, the board is asked to note the updated position on the GPF programme. Agree that despite the Sussex County Council defaulting on the agreed repayment schedule for the Sovereign Harbour project, interest should not be charged on the overdue amount, £3.575 million, for the period from 1st of April 2023 to 31st of March 2024, as required under the terms of the loan agreement. Noting that the default only arose as a result of postponement of the 10th of March 2023 board meeting. Agreed? Agreed. Agree the proposed revised repayment schedule of the Sovereign Harbour project as set out in section 6 of this report, and agree that interest will not be charged on the remaining balance of the loan at this time subject to compliance. Sorry, will not be charged on the remaining balance of the loan at this time, subject to compliance with the proposed revised repayment schedule. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. And then to agree the proposed revised repayment schedule of the Eastbourne Fisherman's Quayside and Infrastructure Development Project as set out in section 7 of this report, subject to provision of annual updates on the ongoing viability of the repayment schedule, and agree that despite defaulting on the agreed repayment schedule, the application of interest on the outstanding balance can be waived, subject to compliance with the proposed revised repayment schedule. Is that agreed? Agreed. Good. Thank you, Helen. Thank you very much for that. And then I think we move on to any other business. Keith, I believe you may have.
Chairman, it's Rodney's last event here. As you all know, sadly, he's decided to hang up his boots and go and do other things. So I think it's right that we express our gratitude to Rodney for his invaluable contributions as a member of this accountability board. And whilst I think he would agree that he was somewhat of a cynic in the early days of Senate, his dedication to the important work that we do should not go unnoticed, and we should all be thankful for his efforts in supporting the board for the greater good of the region. Genuinely made a big difference. Rodney's advice and insights and precise knowledge of Medway projects has been incredibly helpful in supporting our processes here, and then we've been better equipped to deliver our funding programs as a result of his strong advocacy. So that has only benefited from Rodney's involvement for over 10 years. Yes, exactly. Since it pales into insignificance when compared with his dedication to Medway Council. And his outstanding commitment and his influence has been felt far and wide. And we all look forward to the day when the Innovation Park in Medway opens, and hopefully Rodney will be there and we can all come along and enjoy the benefits of that. But for myself, and I'm sure from the whole board, Rodney, thank you very much for what you've done. It's been a pleasure working with you. I don't think we've ever had crosswords. Certainly, we've had some interesting discussions. So thank you.
Well, thank you for those very kind words. You've rather thrown me. I was just going to make a quick exit and just a little. It's no coincidence, or perhaps it is a coincidence, but today is the 50th anniversary of me first being elected to local government. I don't know whether the meeting was designed. I was elected to Kent County Council, the new county council, as we all had under the 1972 Local Government Act.
Goodness.
And I had an astounding majority at that election. I wasn't expected to win. If you remember, back in '73, we were in the midst of the 3-day week. We were in the midst of the oil crisis, etc., etc., etc. And I was asked to stand, and I was told you won't win. And I thought, well, there's no point in going into something with that attitude. Let's make a bloody fist of this. And I won with the astounding majority of 2 votes on a county council seat. And that's what gave me I really love local government. I really love representation. I love working on behalf of the communities that I represented. It became a passion of mine. And so I needless to say, I just say that 4 years later, the same seat, exactly the same seat, my majority was 1,575. That was nothing down to me. It's the fact that the then Labour government had gone into coalition with the Liberal Democrats that lived that fact. And of course, the national government was in rather bad odour with the electorate, and almost didn't even have to canvass that particular election. But it's been interesting times. Keith has said that I was a sceptic as far as the creation of the LEC, because my view was that our LEC was going to be too big. And I remember meeting our friend Eric Pickles at the House of Commons, my old chum, and I said to him, Eric, this isn't going to work. He said to me, oh, give it a try, Rodney. It won't have any money, it won't have any powers. And I then said to him, what bloody hell, Eric, are we going to have it? And the really thing for me that actually saved, in my view, the LEC was the agreement that the growth fund would be delivered through the local enterprise partnerships. And therefore, suddenly, the LEC had a purpose. But me, from the Medway perspective, bearing in mind we were in a dire strait, the naval base had closed, unemployment was gone from almost zero, because we never had high unemployment in Medway. It had gone to something like 25%, and we desperately needed inward investment, and the growth fund was a golden opportunity. And I said at that time, right lads, we will only bid on it if we meet all the criteria and we've got strong bid. And we have been very successful as far as growth fund and all the other bids. And that is because we had a good story to tell.
and we had a good meeting. And I wish you all well in the future. I know that we're setting dates for the June, keep setting things for the coming to the June meeting. I shall not be there, but I wish you well. Those of you who are still in the post that you. Yeah. Some of you are not affected by this year's elections, but some of you are. So I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney. Well done. I think for the whole board, absolutely echo what was said very well by you. And thank you for everything you've done for Kent in the widest geographical sense.
Well, yes,
the Medway and for the left. And
my time on Kent, Roger, was fighting for the people of North Kent, where what I used to call them the Knights of the Shires, who actually ran Kent. They didn't even know where North Kent was. When I arrived there, they joined my things like North Kent. What's that?
we reverse that. So yeah. Moving swiftly on. Thank you very much indeed. And right, we move on to date of the next meeting, which, as Rodney mentioned, 16th of June 2023 at the launch pad at Southend Airport Business Park. And it does look as if we've got quite a lot of business for that particular meeting, having gone through the recommendations. Urgent business, I'm not aware of any, nothing that Kennington brought to my attention, or indeed any urgent exempt business. And on that basis, some 10, 12 minutes ahead of schedule.
Well done, Roger.
Declare the meeting closed. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Well, very much.
Yeah.